Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly photo chats. So I was going through my gear, and I have a lot of different cameras. I've taught photography and had film cameras for students for years. So I ended up collecting a lot of different cameras for a lot of different people. And different cameras would be brought into my circles. Some people have commented, boy, you have a lot of cameras. And that's why. And I was going through and I said, you know what, what's my dream team camera system? I love shooting the Leica when I just take one camera out. But then I thought I love shooting the f2 when I take one camera out. But I don't usually take the f2 and then any lenses with me. And I don't usually take the Leica and any lenses with me. If I want to shoot a 35, I'll take that. If I want to shoot a 50 or a 28, I'll just take those. But I won't take extra lenses and I won't change in the field if I'm shooting that camera that day. But there is a time when I do want to take more than one lens, and it tends to be Nikon. And probably because I have more Nikon lenses and I like using, I'm very familiar with Nikon, I grew up with Nikon, I had Nikon all throughout the 80s and 90s and early 2000s shooting film for the newspaper that I worked at, so I'm very familiar with Nikon. So I put together a dream team, my camera system, that I think is the greatest camera system if you want to use one body, one lens on the body, and 3 other lenses. And that camera system is, and I tried several, and I thought, well, would I do it with the f2? Would I do it with the f3? Would I do it with the FA, which is fully automatic? And I can literally make it like a point and shoot if I want it to be. But I don't really like the viewfinder and having the readout for the shutter speed above the viewfinder. It's the same in the f3. In both the f3 and the FA, I don't like the way the metering is. So unless I'm going to use them as Sunny 16 cameras and just guess exposure, but it almost seems like why have those cameras if you're not going to use the meter? So I do put batteries in those and I do use the meter. And the f3, even when I was working at the paper, I remember thinking, the focus is good. I don't like that patch of where they put the shutter speed, but the other problem I have is it's an 80-20 weighted focus. And I don't want 80% weighted in the center and 20 on the outside. I like the 60-40 of the FM2. And that became the winner. So this is my dream team of lenses and cameras. A 20 3.5 manual focus lens on a Nikon FM2. I've always known that I can do anything with this camera. This is the camera that I shot more photos for the newspaper with, and this is the camera that I know if I point it at anything, and I know I'm not pointing at a super bright light that's going to fool the lens, but if I can get the plus and the minus to line up at the same time, like right now it is, I know that's going to be a perfect exposure. I know the negative will be fine. I remember somebody saying to me at an assignment one time, hey, do you think those will come out? And I said, they always come out. The camera's working, the film is working, the developer is working. It isn't magic, they always come out. So in here, if I were shooting right now, if I were shooting at a 30th of a second at f8, that exposure would be right. Because the plus and the 0 are lit at the same time. And it might be a slight overexposure because the plus and the 0 are linked to say it's a half stop over, which is exactly what I want. I want to make sure I'm not underexposed. So I tend to overexpose everything by a half a stop. A nice Dom key strap, 23.5 with a small little lens hood, Nikon FM2. This camera really can do anything. Add to it a 105 2.5, a 20, nope, this is a 35 f2, and a 50 1.2. So I have 20, 35, 50, and 105. Those 4 lenses, as much as I love a 24, if I'm carrying the 20, I won't carry the 24. But these 4 lenses, this is my dream team setup. If somebody wanted to get into film photography and say, look, somebody just tell me what to buy. I'll buy a handful of lenses. You can probably buy all of this equipment for under 800 bucks. It's manual focus, AIS lenses. This is an old AI lens, but the 105 is the legendary portrait lens. The 50 1.2 will shoot incredible soft focus if you need to shoot out of focus backgrounds. And the 35 f2, it's just a workhorse because you can shoot a lot of assignments with a 35. You can shoot street, and it's fast if you need fast at night. So that combination, plus the FM2 with the 20, that seems to me to be the dream team. And like I said, I was going through different bodies thinking, would I put the F3 in its place? And I don't like it as much. And would I put the F2 in its place? Well, maybe. I love the F2. But this is as mechanical as that is. Neither one of them needs batteries. And I don't put batteries in the F2. So this is equivalent, but a little lighter. This I have an MD12 motor drive for, so I could drop a motor drive on this and have a very hand-holdable camera that shoots at 3 frames per second. I have a motor drive for the F2, but it weighs about 100 pounds and it takes 16 batteries and it's incredibly heavy and big. But it feels like you're carrying something serious when you have it in there, and I do like carrying that. But if I'm going to put together a dream team in a bag that I have to put over my shoulder and carry, the FM2 wins. And I guess everybody has to make that choice for themselves. What works for them? What's the camera that you have your choices? I've never used an FE2 much. I am an aperture priority fan, but I haven't used the FE2 much. And the FM2 I'm very, very familiar with. Some of that is familiarity will make it so that it wins a few extra points. I've never had an F4, an F5, or an F6, which would be a really wonderful camera from what I hear. But of what I do have to put into this kit, that would be the one body and the 4 lenses I would say you can shoot anything with. Would it be nice to have a 200? Yeah, but the point is most things you can shoot with 20, 35, 50, 105. Those 4 lenses for me make my dream team. And I wanted to put the FA maybe in there, but the FA had that readout on the shutter speed that I didn't like. And that F3 has still got that meter. It's a little too tight for my taste. But everybody has their own preferences, so any one of those may be the ones that go into your kit. I didn't put any zooms in because I wanted fast and small as much as possible. And I'm typically one to switch lenses, or I'll take a second body and maybe if I really had to, I would take a second body, put an F2 in there, and now I have an F2 and an FM2 and 4 lenses, and now I can just go and shoot anything I want. No batteries needed. And if you have 2 cameras on your shoulder, you can switch between lenses very quickly. Back in the film days and photo days, we would often have 2 cameras on our shoulders, and they had color and black and white film for the same assignment. But nowadays, it's easier to use it for 2 different lenses. And that would make it a heavier dream team, but maybe I could just put the body into the bag without a lens, and that would make it so that it wouldn't be taking up as much room and it would still fit. Then I'd have a 2 camera system. But if I were going with 1 camera, it's just the FM2. All right, that's my pick. Hey, if you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. I love talking photo, gear, equipment, photographs, everything with you. Thanks for being here and tuning in. I'll be back next week when we'll talk photography. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, please, please do. Hit the Patreon. I could use some new patrons. And thanks for everyone who's already on board. And if you would like some swag, check the link below. I've got the t-shirts and the sweatshirts and the hats. They say, here to good light. And as always, here's the good light.